Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Saturday, which means it's normally time for a Talk Magic. And this is a Talk Magic, but it's very different to any Talk Magic I've ever done in the entire history of Magic TV. Why? Because for the first time ever on a Talk Magic, I'm not the host. Normally, this is the bit when I introduce somebody and then I ask them lots of insightful questions, but I'm spinning this around. Everybody knows that one of my best friends in the whole world, let alone Magic, is Lloyd Barnes. He is an absolute legend, and I have so much respect for him. And even though he's Welsh, I still love him to bits. Well, Focus came out yesterday, and there have been so many questions about Focus in relation to decks that have been out before, just a million questions. And I thought the best way to approach this would be to answer all of those questions. And I thought, in order to do that, I need someone to ask me the questions, but not just normal questions, but like really kind of the questions that people want to know. And I thought, who's better to do that than Lloyd Barnes? So I'm not going to run this interview. I am handing over to,
Yeah, shut up, Craig. It's time to shut up.
yeah, the Welsh
Taking
Wonder
over your
Wizard
channel.
himself, Lloyd Barnes, on Magic TV. Before we start, how's the house thing going, man? I've been following
Well,
your and Kaylee's journey.
my surroundings, as you can see, I'm in a box room in my mum's house because I'm renovating. For anyone that didn't know, I'm renovating a 100-year-old house to live in it, and currently living with my in-laws. So I'm in my mum's house shooting, but that'll tell you everything you need to know about what my life's like at the minute. That all put aside, I'm so excited to be in control of your channel, to be the master of your destiny to
Dude,
all your
I'm handing
listeners
over
and
to you.
viewers.
Handing over the whole thing to you. And I said to you beforehand, don't go easy on me. Ask me as many tough questions as you want. I don't care. I'm an open book. I want everybody to know everything that they need to know about Focus, and you're the man for the job.
Okay, let's dive straight into it. First of all, Focus was released 1 day ago, yesterday.
Correct.
There are probably people, much like myself, that tend to skip over trailers and go
Mhm.
straight to the review videos that are out there or comments on certain disgustingly colored websites. And those people won't have a clue what this is about. So, can you give me your elevator pitch, or to the people listening that haven't watched the trailer, but have instead potentially gone to this video first or a comment section? What is your I'm trapped with you for 1 minute in the Empire State Building Tower, so it gives you a bit more time to talk.
The best description that I heard for Evoke was what you said at the shoot. And you
The
said,
Focus, not Evoke.
sorry, Evoke. Well, I'm going to talk about Evoke now because the best description I've ever heard for a Focus is what you said on the shoot. And you said, Focus is like Evoke, but fun, which it kind of is, right? Look, Evoke was such a groundbreaking project. Nobody had ever thought of marking words on the back of a card before. That had never been done before. We did that with Evoke, and then we've explored it since in a couple of other projects. But everybody loves films. I am a massive film buff. Anybody who knows my work knows that I've dabbled with films before. And what I wanted Focus to be is I wanted it to be, well, original. The original idea was Evoke but fun. So having all of the same features and all of the same benefits as Evoke, but built into a set of movie cards. And it was meant to be just 26 advertising cards. And then we built 26 sort of film posters, and then we built it up from there. So rather than just being film posters, it then became quote cards. So you've got quote cards, you've got movie cards, and it's designed to look like a game that people would play. You've obviously got the stuff that's normally built into Phil Smith's product. So you've got an incredible marking system. This marking system has never been done before because we're marking stuff on there. We've marked more stuff on these cards than anything before. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But
Yeah,
but the one thing that I do want to say about this, Evoke was for mentalists. If you were a magician, you didn't have to apply. If you were a mentalist and wanted to like make people cry when you're talking to them about their past life or whatever, then Evoke was for you. Here's the interesting thing about Focus. It's been built from the ground up for mentalists and magicians, but using the same prop. So if you want to do like really cool mind reading stuff, having people think of films, having people think of quotes, telling them the quotes, telling them the films, telling them the actors, telling them, you can do all of that. And you can go in so many different directions. But unlike Evoke, focus has been built for magicians. So there's certain things and certain gaffed cards that have been included in the project that allow you to do super visual magic. And while all of the routines on Evoke were all about mentalism and getting in touch with your feelings, getting in touch with the spectators' feelings, I would say it's a 50-50 split on the focus project, in that half of it is mentalism. And as a mentalism tool, it's great because people can relate to movies. It still evokes emotions, but in a different way. But half of it is super visual magic that you could only do with a deck like this. So for the first time, really ever, you've got one deck of cards, and magicians and mentalists can use it in a completely different way. But both ways are good depending on the type of performer you are.
There's such a good explanation of how it sort of separates itself away from what you've been sort of made a name for yourself for in the past. You know, what's really interesting to me, for anyone that still is none the wiser as to specifically what this is a deck of cards that has 26 movie posters on it and some trivia about the films, and then the other 26 cards are quotes from the movies, right? So what people can do is they can actually use this like a genuine fun game at home. For example, you could lay all 52 cards out face up and to ask people to try and genuinely remember the quotes in the films, turn them all face over, and then you've got to try and find pairs as you go along. You can play games of Snap. You can do trivia quizzes with your friends. So somebody says, right, what film is this from? And whoever's got the say you deal the 26 cards between 4 people, they have to rush and put the film down first from their pile. You've got a bunch of actually genuinely no BS, actually fun games that you can play.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
woven in between all that is some crazy markings and some systems and some principles that allow you to do some miracles. But I think there's some really interesting stuff here from my outsider perspective looking in, which is that often when you see certain tricks, there's stuff there which has been put in place for no reason. And what I'm getting to is that, for example, this is a genuine card game, right? You can play Snap, you can play Guess the Movie, you can do loads of different things. You can play charades because they have to mimic what's on the cards and stuff. But there are also quote cards, and the quotes are genuine quotes from the films, right? But one of the things that you've done, you and Phil Smith, is you've actually put the mother of all books test principle in real quotes from the film. So when you have books out there that are like, I don't know, Sherlock Holmes, but somebody's actually hidden a book test in it, oftentimes it's not the real book. And so if anybody was somewhat up on the book itself, they would know straight away something was up, like the Harry Potter ones that are out there and stuff. But with this, you've built a real mother of all book test into real quotes. So not only is this authentic and it's a real game, but if you think about it from a layperson's point of view, they can't figure it out because you're genuinely using the real trivia, the real words.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
brilliant.
And when me and Phil decided we wanted to do this and we wanted to do focus, we both said we would only do this if we could elevate Evoke and we could take it to an entire other level. And we wanted to include 6 or 7 things into this project that wouldn't have been possible with Evoke. And I found it interesting. You talked about the Magic Cafe earlier. Austin
I did not.
Well, no, you said
I said a certain talent.
Yeah, well, we all know what that is. Austin put a post up in there, and literally the next post was, well, I don't see a difference. But just based on like 10 words. And people, that's even before seeing a trailer or ad copy or anything. This is the first big difference, which is because you have 26 quote cards, you can literally, and one of the great things about Focus, by the way, is there's multiple ways of using the deck. You can use it as a deck of 52 cards that are shuffled together, and you can use it shuffled. You could just use the advertising cards and have them in stack. The film poster cards and just have them in stack. You could use the film poster cards, have them shuffled. You could have both decks together separated and do like matching couple style routines. Or you can have just the quote cards and you could have them either in stack or not in stack. There's so many different ways you can do it. But the quotes, and this took so long to do, the quotes are from real films and they are real quotes. And don't forget, we've given you, and we'll talk about this later on a bit more, but we've given people the ability, so if they want to, and only if, but if they want to, they can have the cards in a cyclical stack. And just like we did with Evoke, we've used an alphabetical stack from A through to Z, which means that the films had to run from A through to Z, but then I had to pick films that had real quotes that organically had the mother of all book tests built into it. So that, because and I'll tell you where this came from. It came from the Jerks. Because one of the things that the Jerk said when he looked at Evoke, he actually said he liked it and he'd use it, but then he did this entire post taking the piss out of the motivational quotes that were included in Evoke, and just like, nobody would say this. If a celebrity said this, they'd probably be in rehab by their agent. And I kind of looked at it and I went, you know what? He's got a point. It's not an issue because nobody notices that. He's got a point. And I was like, right, okay, let's use real bloody quotes. Then nobody can say anything. So we used real quotes. So, for example, I'll give you an example. G is Ghostbusters. The quote in Ghostbusters is, Ray, if someone says you are a god, you say yes. Now, that's an iconic quote. That's the other thing. It had to be an iconic quote that everybody knows, right? So when you see Ghostbusters and you hear that quote, you hear Race saying that quote. You hear that quote in your head, right?
So Egon that says it, right?
Egon, yeah. No, it's Venkman says it. So, but if you think about that quote, the only long word in that quote is somebody. Someone, sorry. That's immediately. So if you say, have a look at the quote. I don't know what you've got, but pick a word. If there's a big word, pick that one. If not, just go any word. They're going to pick someone. So immediately you've got real quotes from real films, and they know they're real quotes from real films, but the Moab system's built into it. Not only that, anybody who knows Moab,
clever.
Anybody who knows Moab knows that the big problem with it is you have to figure out what the first letter is. But you don't have to with this, because thanks to Phil's genius marking system, they're marked in two ways. So first of all, and the marking system is insane, by the way, it's easier to read than mind blocks. So the marking system on the back, the first thing it does is it actually will tell you what the Moab word is on that card, but it's also built in, so it'll tell you the Moab word in an alpha stack. So, for example, if I have them cut and they take the top card, I can just look at the balance in my hand and I can see what the film is that they're looking at and what the Moab word is that they're looking at and the first line of the quote. So I don't have to just tell them the Moab word. I can also tell them. So on that card, it's going to have on there, it's going to have, Ray, if someone says if someone asks if you are a god, it's going to have the first line. It's also going to have the word that they're going to be thinking of. It's going to have the film, a bunch of other stuff as well, which we'll get to later. So you don't have to figure out what the first letter is. If the deck's shuffled, no problem. You just have them touch the card and you can see it. But if you don't want to even look, you can turn around. You can get them to cut the deck as many times as they want to. Take the top card. You put the balance to one side. You know the word. You know the quote. You know the film. You know everything. Which is just with that one thing. It's evolved.
Sorry, that's just insane to me. Like from a magician's point of view or from the spectator's point of view, try to unravel that. Like, you hand someone, and by the way, as well, you don't even need to peek it because the alpha stack, it's not even memorizing the full deck. It's half the cards, and they're films, which are the quotes are much easier to memorize than cards themselves.
And you don't need to memorize them because it's all there for you.
Yeah, you kind of know. That's the thing I noticed, that going through the deck and playing with it, you kind of just learn it all because it's not. It's films and quotes. Like most people watching this will have a bunch of films they know quotes from in their head anyway. This is just familiarizing yourself with a few more, not like memorizing a stack. But the cool thing is, like, if you think about it from the artist's point of view and the magician's point of view, hand somebody cards, they cut to complete, take one out without looking at it under the table. They get rid of the rest of the pack, so you can get your secret peek, and you don't even have to look at the back. You could just know what card is on the face, what film's on the face. And now you can literally just start like reading their mind, the quote, the first line, the movie itself, everything from a split second. Like, that's just so much more. And you think about that compared to a card trick. Like, if you were just going to peek a card and okay, that you've got the 5 of clubs, congratulations, well done, move along. This is like, it's just so much information. It sort of hammers down the impossibility of it all. One thing we said on the shoot was not everyone has a favorite playing card. In fact, most people don't have a favorite playing card, but almost everyone has a favorite movie. And that's
Exactly.
just for it. That is for me, at least, that's the fuel on the spark on the fire that instantly engages someone with you in some way, shape, or form faster than you ever could with a card trick.
Yeah. And here's the thing. When we were doing all of the live performances, I was giving somebody, I was saying, hey, do me a favor, just pick any one of these movie posters. And I'd say, have a look at it. Do you want that one or do you want to put it back? And frequently people are like, I want to put it back. Because they wouldn't, because it was a film they couldn't relate to. You couldn't have that with the Seven of Diamonds. No, I don't like the Seven of Diamonds. I want to go for a different one.
Yeah,
It becomes people, and when you give them the deck and you go spread through, take out film that you like, they really look at them and they really think about them and they go, oh yeah, that one, I remember that one. That's it. And you'll see that in the trailer. Now you got that with Evoke as well, to be clear. That's not one of the differences, but the difference is there's a lot of situations where you don't want to rock up to a group and go, right, let's talk about your anxiety when you were 7 years old, shall we? Evoke,
yeah,
right time, right place. Evoke kills, and I will stand by that. But there's a lot of scenarios where it's not really appropriate unless you're like a hardcore Pete Turner style mentalist. But with this, doesn't matter where you are. It could be a wedding, it could be a house party, a barbecue, whatever it is. It's always appropriate.
yeah.
Um,
It's always fun.
I'll tell you the other
And
thing. Oh, go on. Sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say, like, it's interesting that some people love magic, some spectators just love magic, and some people a non-plus. Oftentimes, like, there's like an alpha in the group who just tries their best not to be interested, or some people will just get. Some people will, and I think anyone that's ever performed a magic trick in their life will agree to this. Some people just forget the card, and the biggest actual culprits are magicians. The
Hmm.
amount of times a magician, you'll show them a trick, and then you go, and they go, "Oh, nice classic pass," or they go, they nod when you do it, when you do a shift or something, and then you go, "Okay, time for the big reveal." It was and you go, "What was the card?" And they go, I'm sorry, I was too big, And it's the same with lay people. The amount of times, if you're in a bar, a club, whatever you're going to perform, the world keeps turning, unfortunately for us. And people don't always pay attention to the three of spades that they picked 5 minutes ago in between watching all the incredible cool shuffles and stuff that you did. But when someone puts more gravitas to their decision and they go, do you know what? I don't want to pick Ghostbusters, but I definitely want to pick Zoolander.
Yep. Yep.
That can't really be forgotten after you've done a bunch of cool stuff with the deck, or you've given them a really interesting prose or story to go with it. They know their card. They've taken their time to choose it, and for something happens where it makes a connection in their head, and they go, "That's my card." And like you said, it doesn't. The flip side to it from Evoke is that it's not so emotionally heavy in the performance.
It is, but I'll tell you something. I'm not a cold reader by any stretch of the imagination, but I was speaking to Jake Keane about this project, and he said, you know what's interesting? If you have somebody go through and take out a film that they can relate to, that they like, and you immediately know what that film is, in many ways, you're getting the same information for a cold reading type thing than you
It's
would do
true.
if you were using Evoke. If you have somebody who takes out, Braveheart, that tells you a lot more about them than if they're taking out something like Zoolander, for example. So you can still use films to know more about that person's psyche than really you should do, which is kind of an interesting thing as well from a cold reading point of view. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing that I did want to mention to you, Lloyd, before you ask your next question, we talked about the first big change, which is organic Moab words, which I think is just a barn buster. The second big change from Evoke to Focus.
Oh,
No, this is. I don't think you're gonna. I don't think this is what I'm gonna. I don't think you think I'm gonna say.
okay.
Uh,
Because
with,
for everyone listening, by the way, don't tune out of the video yet because there's something. I'm not sure if this is the one you're going to mention, but
no, it's not.
because I know most people will watch like two-thirds of a video or a third of the video. There's something hidden in this deck that I've never ever seen before, and when you explained to me what it did, I nearly I nearly passed out. It's okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but when you understand, we're going to explain it to you. But when you understand what this is, when we tell you it, your face is going to go, "Oh my god!"
Yes,
And it's
definitely.
completely new. So go
But
on to
we're
what
not
you're
there
going to
yet.
say, but
We're not
don't
there
tune
yet.
out, everyone. Don't tune
No.
out.
The second thing I was going to say, Evoke was 26 cards. Anxiety through to xenophobia, 26 cards, right? Focus is a full deck. It's 26 film posters, and there's 26 movie quotes cards, but they are the same films. So in essence, you have two of Braveheart, you have two of Casablanca, you have two, so on and so forth. Now, the reason that's important is because now when you've got two of each card, it opens up so many possibilities for a magician and a mentalist. You were talking about having someone take out a film that they like. Imagine having somebody take out a film from the posters that they like while somebody else is shuffling the quotes. Now, you know what film they've taken immediately because of the marks. Imagine taking the quotes back and just showing them and saying, look, all of these are mixed up, and just cutting that card to the back and doing a cross-cut force. So now you've got a spectator reads the spectator's mind. They're thinking of a film that they couldn't possibly know, and that person couldn't possibly know. That person's cut the quote cards at a random position. You ask them for the name of their film, they say whatever, and then they turn over the quote card that they've picked, and it matches. Any matching couple routines you can do with these two packs of cards and make it way more interesting because you're dealing with matching films. So imagine doing stuff like Out of This World. Imagine doing stuff like Oil and Water. Imagine doing stuff like matching couples routines. The Wayne Dobson matching.
Do as I do.
Do as I do. Imagine Will the Jacks match, but with films. Imagine all of this type of matching routines, of which card magic is filled with it. But instead of one person finding an ace of clubs and the second person finding an ace of clubs, you've got one person taking out Braveheart and the other person finding the quote from Braveheart. And one of the not complaints, but one of the things people said about Evoke is, oh, it would have been nice to have 52 cards. Well, you have got 52 cards, and that's what I mean earlier on about how you can do this in so many different ways. You can shuffle the cards together. You can have them as two separate packs. You can just take out the quote cards. You can just take out the film posters. You can have them in stack as a 52 card deck. There's so many different ways that you can do it. And there's so many different ways that you can actually approach using this as a utility item, depending on whether you're a magician or a mentalist. And I don't want to gloss over that because I think the fact that you've got two of each card is a big thing, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even in terms of like even if you, for example, farrowed cards in the same stack, so the alphabetical A to Z stack with the quotes directly by it, but you can pretend that they're not just perfectly mixed. You can just spread through and say, look, the cards are completely mixed. If you do like a dribble spread or whatever, so it looks like they're in completely mixed of order. Well, then you can do simple things such as somebody takes a card from a spread, you cut that spread and palm the top card straight to your pocket. Now you've got a performed card quote to pocket where you can get the peak at the same time, but with like little to no work. You don't even need to do the palming part. You know, you can do other self-working options, but even just like making an instant sort of double stack like that on the fly, super easy to do. And now because of 52 cards, you can. However, I kind of feel like a lot of people can really see the benefit of that. We can't leave people lingering too long on the thing, which I think this is the bit I'm most excited about, and we haven't even talked about Slimer yet. So do you want to tell people the sort of phone call you had to me with, like you said, Lloyd, I've got this idea, and then
when I explained to Phil what I wanted to do with these cards, he was like, and bearing in mind, Phil Smith really is a genius. I mean, I don't know how well people that are watching this know him. The word genius is bandied around in this industry an awful lot, way more than it should. Phil Smith is a genius. There's no two ways about it. There is nobody who can do what he does with graphic design and playing card marking systems. Nobody.
Plus the mentalism, like ideas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if anybody's read the Mythology Codex, you know how incredibly, ridiculously talented this man is. And it's why he's such a dream to work with, because he gets it. You know, you go to a normal graphic designer, they don't get it. He gets it. Right. Okay. So when I went to Phil and I explained to him what I wanted to do with this deck with the marks on the back, he's like, Craig, that's never been done before. Like, ever. That's never been done before. I was like, can you do it? He's like, yep. And we did it. So first of all, like I said, there is more information marked on the back of these cards than ever before. Probably 4 times the amount of information that's marked on the back of Evoke. So you have the name of...
Craig, scrap this. Just tell them the phone call you had with me where you said, Lloyd, this is what I'm doing. Jeebus.
Jesus. Right. Okay. So we have marked on the back of the cards information that the spectator can only find out if they Google the film they're looking at. Let me explain, because you didn't really get.
Let me say, Craig called me and he said, Lloyd, we're gonna mark the cards with information that's not on the cards. And I said, are you stupid or just ugly? And then you said, no, you're stupid and ugly. And I said, yeah, both are true. Can you please use crayons and bright pictures to explain this to me? Information that is not on the cards. So that's when you said, right. I'm
Okay,
now going to
examples. So whether you use the quote cards or you use the posters, there's certain information that the spectator will not be able to find on there. They'll find the name of the film. They'll find the actor that played the film. On the quote cards, they'll find the name of the character. There's certain information they'll never find. For example, the director
on the cards.
on the card. They'll never find that information on the cards. For example, the director's name does not appear anywhere on any of the cards, quotes, or film posters. The box office total, the amount that the film made, is not anywhere on the cards. The name of the character that said the quote is not on the film posters. There's a lot of information that's not actually ever appears on the cards. However, they can find that information if they Google the film they're looking at, because we chose the films that are very Googleable, if that's a word. So, for example, let me give you
also,
a real.
So just so everyone know, that information is on the back of the cards secretly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've put the information on the back of the cards, but it's not on the front. So, for example, imagine this. Imagine that you have somebody take the cards, you turn round, they cut, whatever. They then take a card, they look at it, they hold on to it, you take the rest of the cards back, and you put them away. At that point, I now know the box office. Just in one glance, bottom left corner tells me
how much it grossed.
I know exactly how much it's grossed. So I can turn around and I can say, is this a film that you can relate to? And they go, yeah. Do you know the film well? Yeah. Okay, so what do you know? And I can say, well, I'm going to write something down. I'm going to write that gross. Right, I'm going to write something down. I'll give it to you. Hold on to it. Brilliant. So do you know how much the film grosses? How much the film grossed, what the box office total was? And they're going to go, no. And you go, oh, I thought you knew that film. And they're going to go, yeah, but I don't know it that well. I'm like, okay, no problem. Have you got a phone? Yeah, Google it. So they're now going to Google box office. They're going to film, like, for example, Braveheart box office total, and it's going to come up immediately. When it does, it's matching what you wrote on the card ages ago, before you even did anything, before they even opened up Google, because you're getting the information in real time, in a split second, that they have to spend ages Googling in order to find out.
Let me explain to the people who are as hard of thinking as I am at home why that's so good. It's so incredible because you cancel out the method that you're using to your audience, because that information is on the card. So if at any point they think that you are secretly peeking the information on the card, whether you get a look at the face or potential markings or whatever, if they think that's the case, then when you ask for the name of the director or who sent the quote or what the box office did, and it's not on the card, they immediately go, well, I know he's not looking at my cards because that's not on there. So how is he doing this? And now you've created a perfect loop. It's the knot that tightens itself in terms of method. And it's absolutely genius. It is genius because magic has been around. It was one of the longest art forms and the next best professions next to and this hasn't been done as far as we know. And you can only do there's only so much research you could do in the world. As everyone knows, it's the constant eternal gray area. But from what we can, between our collective minds and our research capabilities, we haven't found this yet. And I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's absolutely unique to this to focus. But just think about it. You know the information about the cards that they're holding that's not even on the card, so they can't even say, well, he must have looked at some point, which is generally the only option they have left at the end of the day. They go, either he read my mind or he could see my cards. And when they go, well, he couldn't see my cards because that information wasn't on there, so he must have read my mind. It's genius. It's absolutely genius, and I like that. For me alone is worth the pun. It's worth the price of admission.
Yeah, it's and I said on the place of green that we're not too keen on. I actually said on there, I said that the stuff that's built into that's built into focus, and I genuinely think this is going to become standard in future
Mm.
projects years gone by. I think the idea of having something marked on a card that's not on there could be used again and again and again now that that's out there,
Hmm.
because it genuinely is. It feels like real mind reading. It really does. It feels like you're just, it takes it to an entire other level.
I actually think you need to sort of coin a phrase for it, like the Petty principle, so that
We
in
actually,
10
me and
years.
Phil, internally, when we were creating it, we actually referred to the marking system for focus as an open index, because it
Nice.
feels like an index, but every card it's not like an index that you have to look at or a crib you have to look at. It's like an open index, an open crib, because as you're going through, you're getting all the information you need immediately right in front of you, including the information that they don't even know about. It's insane, really. But on top of that, by the way, there's more things marked on this than ever before. So you just to let people know, you have the name of the film, the character who said the quote, the first line of the quote. You have the Moab word. You have the box office. You have the director's name. You have the stack number, which is useful for a lot of routines, because you can use that stack number in a few different ways. But also, if you ever want to put it back in stack and you've shuffled it, it allows you to do that easier. Then you've got all of that information again, but on the next card in alpha stack. So then you've got the next card and what the name of that film is, the next director, everything is repeated.
So that means you don't. If somebody's picked the card Titanic, you can either pick all the information about the I don't know. Is the Titanic? I can't remember. All the information about the Titanic that's on there, on the card itself, or if they're one of those spectators that sneakily gets a card and doesn't let you see it, then you pick the card after it.
Yeah.
Now think about this. They've slid a card from the deck. They know they did it on the table. They know you can't get a peek at it. You read their mind in unbelievable ways. You think, you predict just the word that they're thinking of, the director that's not even on there. And when it comes down to it, and they go, "All right, I can't fall asleep before I figure this out." He must have seen the card. No, I had it clamped. Did he have a camera under the table? No, because I hid it. Well, did he somehow make me think that I didn't see it, but he did see it? Well, the information wasn't even on the card. Well, then I've got nothing. Like, can you? I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And just going back to it, I think especially this time of year, Christmas, there's a lot of casual social gatherings happening, probably globally than at any other point. At least if people who celebrate this time of year, the festive season. There's so much more social gathering happening now than at any other point. And what I like about this is, as somebody who years ago sort of struggled with introducing a trick to be performed, because you're having a good laugh and then suddenly it's like, "Hey, you want to see a magic trick?" This isn't that. So you can just start playing card games, genuinely fun games. And it's not just saying that; it's actually good fun, trivia movie games, especially when Christmas movies and movies is like the big theme of the holiday season. And then you can just say, "Okay, take a card. Don't let me see it. Don't let me see it. Okay, got one." And then you can just casually, you could be halfway into a performance and nobody even realizes it. And I think that's when, like, the strongest for me in my little sphere, that's when the most powerful magic and mentalism takes place, is when nobody even realizes you're about to melt their brains.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with you.
Like when you go to someone, "Hey, pick a card," or, "Do you want to see a card trick?" or, "Do you want to see a trick?" Some people are like, "Yeah, I'm super excited," and some people are like, "Game on, I'm figuring this guy out." When you say to someone, "Pick a movie," and oh, just think of, I don't know, think of one word in that quote, and it doesn't even feel like you're doing a trick, and they're like, "Okay, I don't know what he's gonna do, but whatever." You're like, "You think of the word someone?" I'm like, "Yeah, hold on, what the?" Those type, but for me at least, like those type of things where it's just like that. Oh, this seems completely on the spur of the moment. Yeah, he did something completely unexplainable. Is more is supreme power. And this allows you to do that, like, better than other things you've done in the past in terms of evoke and stuff like that. You
Oh,
know?
thank you so much. And yeah, I completely agree with you. This is really special and really near and dear to my heart. And Yeah, one thing that I do want to discuss is the fact that this is for magicians as well as mentalists. You know, up until now, we've talked about reading people's minds, and that's all very strong. And, you know, mentalism and mental magic is great. But there's a lot that we've built in because of the subject matter. There are so many routines that are super visual. Like one of my favorite things is I do this thing where I have three people think of films. I bring out a double blank card and I talk about how it's a cinema screen, and one at a time, that double blank card changes into the name of into the film poster for the film that they're thinking of. You can do that where there's not even any film posters in play, so they're just quote cards. They don't realize that film posters exist. You have somebody pick a quote card. They pick a quote card, you take a double blank card, and boom, it turns into a film poster for the film they're thinking of. Like, but the way that, like, when the people that don't know, when you print a deck, you get 56 cards. The 52 cards were obviously going to be the films. One card was going to explain how the marking system worked. We kind of needed that. That was really important because the marking system is cool, but you want to know everything that's on there. One thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to, and there's a double backer in there and everything, but I wanted to include something specifically for the magicians. So you get two very special cards. And I'm telling you right now, when I was doing all of the performances, I was opening with this trick. Whenever I use focus, I open with this because I've talked about this on my channel all the time, Lloyd. When you do an opening routine in walk around and you're a magician, it needs to be quick. It needs to establish credibility. It needs to, grab people's attention immediately, in my opinion, as a working pro. And these two cards do that and then some. So the two cards that you actually get in this deck, the extra cards, one is an exact duplicate of the Ghostbusters card, but there's no Slimer. So on the and by the way, all of the film posters were redrawn by Phil Smith. They're not the original film posters. They were redrawn. They're technically fan art that was drawn by Phil Smith, and they look beautiful. And Phil drew two versions of the Ghostbusters card, one with Slimer, one without Slimer. And then the other thing that we supplied is a double-backed card where you've got a big-ass giant Slimer on the back of one side of the double-back card. Now, that is used for about 6 or 7 different routines in the project. In fact, Phil said to me, because he didn't even know what I wanted to use this for. He's a mentalist, not a magician. And when I showed him the performance footage of what I wanted to do with this, he's like, Craig, you could have actually released that as a separate trick. That could have been just a trick on its own.
They said the same thing. The reactions that was getting was like, oh man, that's powerful.
It could have been a trick in its own right, but it's just included as a bonus. So think, for example, you can bring out a set of movie posters, and you can have somebody pick one, and they pick one. Let's say they pick Untouchables, and they lose it in the pack. You then cut the cards, and you say, "Let's use this card, Ghostbusters." Perfect. You then super visually, pop Slimer off the Ghostbusters card, which you give to them. They hold on to it. And then you take Slimer and you throw him into the cards, and then one card has got Slimer stuck to the back of it, and when you turn it over, it's Untouchables. And then you say, of course, we can't leave him there, that's weird. And then you just visually pluck him off the Untouchables card, give that out, they turn over the Ghostbusters card they're holding, Slimer's back on the Ghostbusters card, everything is examinable. It doesn't have to be Untouchables. I'm using that as an example. And that's just one of the like 6 or 7 routines that use these gimmick cards. It was very important to me as a magician first and a mentalist second. I wanted to include stuff that if somebody has no interest in reading minds, here's the thing. And I bring this up because people will compare this to Evoke. With Evoke, almost every single routine involved the marking system. It was all about the marking system. With Focus, the markings are great. We've just talked about it. But you could go and do 20 odd routines with this deck, really killer, strong visual magic routines, and never use the marks once. And it was really
that's the truth.
That. Yeah.
It's just, for me at least, even though I was involved in the Evoke project and I shot for it and things, because I'm primarily like you, I'm a magician first and a novice mentalist second. Mentalist observer, I love it. It was always kind of like, not always, but throughout the process of working on the project, I never fully could grasped right up until I sort of started seeing it come to life, seeing those performances, what it was all about. And I say that in the sense of just getting a feel for like, oh, I know what this is and how I would use it and how I would and what I would create with it. But immediately from the get-go, aside from the crazy markings, the information that's not on there, I just knew what this project would do for me and what I could do with it. Just
Yeah.
because instantly that line of most people don't have a favorite playing card, everyone has a favorite movie. Instantly, I was like, oh, and then it's sort of just like I don't know, maybe it's just me. I love movies, but also it's the casual nature without the gravitas of attaching emotions and memories to it, as opposed to just films and so like people watch it with their friends, families, on their own. Movies are just such a big part of culture. Um, and like if Vogue is because emotions and especially nowadays when mental health coming to the forefront, it is part of modern culture, but where there's no weight behind it so much with a movie. That coupled with knowing that it's fully marked and knowing that quotes play a part in that, instantly I could picture how I would use this project to its full potential, and then having the extras in there as well. It's a really, 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 really intelligent way of. And this is the thing that everyone's going to say to you at every time you talk about this. But genuinely, out of all the theme decks that you've done, this is by far my favorite. And I
It's
think,
my favorite as well.
yeah, and you've done a lot, right? You have done a lot, but I think maybe because I have an interest in this, but it's the one I can relate to the most,
Hmm.
and it's the one I can perform without with
Yeah.
in the most casual sense, and get
Yeah.
the most impossible reactions from as well. Uh,
Yeah. I agree.
you
I
know what I
agree.
mean?
I think this last year, because Evoke only came out just before Blackpool. When you think about it, it's
Yeah,
crazy. And this last year, I think honestly, it's all been building to Focus. It really has. Um, I think that everything that we've done has built off the work on the previous thing, and I think
yeah.
that everything that's gone into this, I think this is I think it'll be. I don't know. I don't think I'll ever bring another deck of cards out like this because with this sort of system, because I think I've peaked at this point with this. I really do. I think this is done. I
Well,
know I'm going to say never, but
it's difficult because at least from my personal interest standpoint, I really love movies. So for me, it's something I talk about a lot. Something I'm interested in cinematography and videography and everything that goes with it. So for me, it's ideal. So unless you brought us something else which almost matches what I'm purely into again, it's gonna be very hard. I think generally movies, something that interests almost everyone. It's normally movies, music, and gaming. And you're not into gaming that much, I don't think.
not that much.
I don't. You didn't even know how to pronounce Billie Eilish, so I can think we can rule music out. You
Yeah.
called it Billie Eilish, I think. Uh, well, you have done like a music theme trick, but movies, you got movie characters tattooed on your arm.
I have indeed.
So
Yeah,
I think it's safe for you to say that you possibly won't bring out something as good as this because
I agree.
it's hard to find something else you're equally as interested in.
I agree. I agree 100%. Absolutely. Which is why, and I think it's worth talking about this, the project is quite long. Um, However, and I know that there's people out there that don't like long tutorials, I made a decision where within 25 minutes, you're going to know everything you need to know.
Yeah,
You don't have to watch the whole tutorial. The first, I think, 25 minutes, half an hour of the tutorial, and everything's broken up into separate videos. But the first 25 minutes, half an hour, I explain what the deck is, how the marking systems work, what the special gaff cards are, and what you can do with it. Done. Switch it off after 25 minutes. Let your creativity run wild. Or don't even watch the tutorial. It comes with a card that has the marking system built into it. Don't watch the tutorial. You have everything you need. However, if you do want to watch the 10-hour tutorial with 40 routines, then you can. And you will learn that there's about 20 designed for magicians, there's 20 designed for mentalists, and pretty much all of them couldn't be done with any other deck of cards that I've released in the past because of how the deck is designed, the information that you get off the cards, the fact that there's 2 stacks of 26. Some of the routines are matching couple routine styles like that. You can't do that with Evoke or Infinity deck or whatever. But I included 40 routines, and I think last time I checked, there's about 2.5 hours of live performances. You don't have to watch the 2.5 hours of live performances, but anybody who's watched my review show will know that one of my big bugbears is that people bring out tricks and there's no live performance. And it's like, have you even ever performed this? Almost pretty much every single routine on the project has a live performance from an actual venue, so you can see what it looks like in the real world. And every single explanation starts with a studio performance. So you can take out the live performances, you take out the studio performances. It's not as long as you'd think. The tutorials or the tricks I teach range from completely self-working to more advanced. Different people, like I know when Jake was looking at this, you're my friend Jake Keane. Jake, there was the stuff that Jake gravitated towards was completely different to what you gravitated towards, and that's the thing. How am I supposed to know? If I've got a bunch of ideas with this, how am I supposed to know who's going to relate to what?
This is something I was going to bring up when earlier, which is better than anyone in the world probably, because you probably perform, or I can't think of anyone that performs as much as you. I met them all, but pretty much some people instantly respond to visual magic. Some people instantly respond to mentalism.
Yeah,
there are different strokes for different folks when it comes to magic, and depending on your audience, a good magician like yourself will always start to, like, if you bring out a deck of cards and someone says I hate card tricks, you would just pull out a coin and say, good, I've got something even better to show you. Then you adapt to your audience on the fly. Oftentimes people are nervous performing, or they're not familiar with their surroundings or the people, and they only have one, and they got one gear, and sorry, I don't care if you don't like visual magic, you're about to see 13 phases of an ACR because I learned that. With this, because of I know, like, you can do visual stuff with cards and stuff, but they're not this instant hook of, what do you have a favorite movie? Bang, now you got their attention, you've found some common ground, found some common interests, and now you can start to figure out if they're into mentalism or visual stuff. Whichever one you can see they're reacting a bit more to, you can go that route and just carry on. So you can absolutely fine-tune that performance so you get the maximum horsepower out of this effect.
Exactly. And that was very important to me. Yeah, and that was really, 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 really important to me. I wanted to make sure that one tool would work for magicians and would also work for mentalists. That was very, very
I
important.
just think it's good. I just think it's great that it's often something comes around. Like, for example, with Evoke, if somebody, you could see they were the type of person that just starts freaking out when they see visual magic, and that's all. If that's all you brought with you to a family party or a gathering or whatever, you're kind of stuck in that lane. Unless you do like an oil and water, so they get a visual reveal or whatever. But with this, you're unlimited by what you can do. But also, you've found that you're doing something that's just not a playing card trick. So instantly, you've sort of leapfrogged over any stumbling block. I call it friction points. You've leaped over any friction points, and you're sort of halfway there, and then you can just, like, hone in. Then I just think it's just another sort of built-in feedback, which probably would never be written down as a feature in the ad copy for a product.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, it will do everything, and I'm fully aware, and one thing that I tried to do on the project was show people how you can routine all this stuff together. I know it's a bit of a cliche, hey, you can do an entire act with this, you can do an entire act with this, you can take this deck of cards out and this one deck of cards, and I have continued to do so. When I did the performances, I was doing 15-minute sets, different 15-minute sets every single time with different groups of people. You can do so much with this one deck, depending on how you want to have it set up, how you want to perform it, and watch the reactions in the trailer. It's difficult to get reactions like that in the UK. Why do they get reactions like that? Why were people going, holy shit, oh my God? Why? They were doing that because they related to the magic I was showing to them. That's
Yeah.
what focus does. Helps you relate.
Honestly, there's nothing more I can add to this as to why I think this is phenomenal, other than I'm just so hyped to have a Christmas. Like every Christmas, is always like, oh, what am I going to perform? In fact, I was in a WhatsApp group the other day and we were chatting like, oh, what would you do over the Christmas? Me and Jake were speaking. What tricks are you going to do over Christmas? And we were brainstorming, and I was and the rule was no card tricks, sort of thing. And for me, this is the thing I'm going to be busting out.
Yeah.
Because like for me, it's that magic where you do it, where they don't even know you're doing a trick, and then
It looks
suddenly
like the
it's
sort
round
of thing you
house.
bust out over Christmas anyway. It looks like, right, you're sitting down with your mince pies. Let's do a quiz. Oh, I've got this film quiz. I'm genuinely right. My wife Sarah, her brother, his name is Joe, and he's an amateur magician. He used to do magic back in the day. He doesn't anymore, but he loves watching magic. And I
Well,
love
when he's related to you, he's an amateur magician because
I love
everyone is an
blowing
amateur
his
magician.
mind. I'm going to give him a focus deck. I'm not going to give him the packaging or anything. I'm just going to give him that as a little stocking filler and say, hey, I know you like movies, Joe. Here you go. Have this. Merry Christmas. And I'm going to wait until I see him in April or May or whenever it is. And I go around his house for a couple of days, which always happens. And I'm going to, let's play a game. And he always keeps the games in the same area. I'm playing the long game here. I'm going to have him pull that down. Oh, that looks good. I
Yeah,
don't even remember I've given it to him. I am so going to fuck his shit up. He's going to be,
dude, take the deck you've been using for the last few months. I just go and put it in its collection
yep.
the next time
I don't even
you're
know.
going over there. Honestly, it's so good. Did you mention the box?
No. Box is amazing. It's Phil Smith, though, isn't it? It's Phil Smith.
One more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing. Please mention the box.
Well, I mean, the key thing about the box is it looks so like the sort of thing that you'd see in like a Waterstones or a bookshop. It looks like one of those. That it just Phil spent so long making it look legit, and it really, out of everything he's ever done, it's the most legit. And I found out during the shoot. It was like it was. I realized for the first time there was a barcode, not a barcode. There was a QR code on the box. I was like, "What's this QR code?" And I scanned it, and it goes through to X-Men film listing on IMDb. It's just an extra thing that Phil threw in. It never told me about. So there's a little reveal on the box, which is amazing that I didn't even know. But the most important thing about the box, it looks legit. Anytime you bring this thing out, people are going to know immediately. It looks like what it's meant to look like.
Sorry, I just want to say that X-Men thing is so good though, because nobody would think that the QR code would lead directly to one specific movie on a box which is filled with movie trivia. So when it comes time to force in your X-Men card, when you use a classic force, crosscut force, or whatever, you could even you can do so many things. You say this QR code will take you to the movie. Well, I don't know. If people are filling in the blanks ahead of me, I'm wasting time.
But
But
you know what?
again, it's just another
I love
feature.
I love that the people, no matter how many routines I've put on there, I love that people are going to come up with their own routines. Like one of my favorite things to do is something that you came up with. And we include it on the tutorial because it's genius, which is you realize that because it's in alpha stack and there's a card representing each letter, you realize that Hangover, the film Hangover, has a different letter for each, has a different letter in the word. So
There's no repeating letters in the film Hangover.
so what I
Or the
love
Hangover.
doing is I love having the cards, the Hangover, just stacked on top of a shuffle pack, and I have on my phone a digital force bag list for the 100 greatest films of all time. And a lot of the time, how I open this thing is I'll be like, "Hey, I've got all these different movie posters. Do me a favor, just pick a whole bunch of them, will you? Just take a clump out the middle. Great. Let's just mix them up. Swindle switch. Great. We'll just leave
So
them
deal
on
or
the
twist,
table.
deal or twist,
Deal,
deal or
deal, deal,
twist.
yeah. And then I go, right, I've got a list of it. We'll put those there. We'll get back to those. I've got a list of 100 films. Give me a number. Great. What is it? Look at it. Remember it. Don't tell me. If that film was one of these, would that be good? Yeah. Is it this one? No. This one. This one. This. Oh, it's none of these films. What would
No,
you do?
it is one of them, right? It's the Hangover.
No, it's that's the beautiful thing. It's not. It's not any of them. Hangover's
Yes,
not.
that's right now.
Hangover's
Yeah.
not even in the pack. So like they're going to get it wrong. It's like no, it's not any of them. And I'm like, oh, it's not. Well, what was your film? And they go Hangover, and you go, hang on a minute. Hang on, that one begins with
That's
A.
right.
That one begins with A. That one begins with that. And when you get to the G, they're
Yeah,
like,
Groundhog Day, isn't
oh,
it? And yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, how did I forget about that? That's so good to do.
it's killer.
Wow. I'm saying,
It's,
wow, that was my idea.
what's your idea?
It's do you know what? Because constantly I'm like thinking of new with focus at least. Like when there was something I forgot to call you about the other week, and now it's come back to me where when they go off and Google the director, you can say to them, "Can you think of any movies this guy or girl has ever made before?" And if you're a bit of a movie buff, you'll know, uh, the directors and some of their other work, and from that you could say, "Think of a different movie." And we all know there's a multiple, you can there's a multiple different bunch of ways that you can use this information. Either you could fish for it, like you can say, "Oh, you're thinking of a two-word movie, or it's a long word, or it's a short word," and if you know what's in there. In their back catalog, you can fish for it, or you can use it in a one ahead sense as well, because you've already got the first movie here, and then you can think of another movie they've got. So it's just a presentational angle for it, but now it takes it off board, so you get the physical peak for your one ahead. Now you're like, you know what? Think of some other guy, and maybe think of another two, and we'll write them down. So, but now the method again is canceling itself out further from how it's cancelled itself out. The director's name is not even on the card. So, but you've got that from a one ahead, and the movie. Now you can start to say other movies, and it's a really intricate, tangled web of methods going on. Quite an for even for like magic and mentalism, quite an advanced set of methods going on there. From information that doesn't exist on the card, to then using it in a one ahead, combining it all together. And if you're going to fish for longer or shorter words, you're using like sort of like a Moab kind of principle. There's some really really like tightly woven stuff going on there, and it would make for a very bad hair day for someone trying to figure
Oh,
that out before going to sleep at night.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's just yeah, that's the thing. There's so much going on. Like you said, even using it in its most basic form to play a game, it's good. Like I said, it's one of those. It's very easy to understand how easy it is to play, because the best games are normally the most simple to understand. You have 26 movie posters and 26 quotes, and it's a
Yep.
card game.
Yep.
Go figure. Pretty damn easy.
It's very easy. And it is a fun game that you can play, but it will, it's a tool that will. I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of this trick. I really am. I'm so glad that this is the last trick that came out in 2024. And I think I've left the best till last. I really do.
I think so. I mean, I'm biased because I, sort of wrote this project to life with you, and Phil Smith, obviously, and of course, it's going through Murphy's, it's my family. But I really think this is the best thing you've done this year. And it's not hyperbole, because just go and watch the performances.
Yep, exactly. Find another
To be honest
project.
with you,
Not over
it
two
actually speaks
hours
for
of
itself.
tutorials. Yeah, 2 hours of performances. Find me another project that has, that many performances to back up what's on there.
I can always tell when you put out a good project, and and then it's something that you do that you don't realize you do. And now that I tell you it, you're gonna apply it, and you're gonna try and outdo yourself. It's kind of like when if you swallow like a drink, or like saliva, when you hear the click inside your ears,
Yep.
and now that will never go away. You'll always hear that click. It's one of those things. The pro
Just blown my mind.
quite literally, it's the projects, the material that you produce, which is your strongest material, always has the most performances in the project.
Mm,
You look at you.
it's true.
It's true. Think about it. Go back through all your back catalog.
True.
You look at the quantum deck.
Hmm.
Insane amounts of performances. Even
Yeah.
recent things like you did the magic button. The amount of performances, how good those were. Again, it
Yeah.
speaks for itself. And then this, insane.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I never thought of it that way before, but you're absolutely 100% right. Yeah.
But now you're going to be conscious of that. And you're going to try and just do the same. Every project has 2.5 hours, because I can't be
Next
shown.
Murphy's project is going to be a 6-hour performance-a-thon. That's what we're doing.
Well, it's what is it? 9 o'clock on a Friday night. If you are ordering in the UK or in the US, you've got ample time to get one of these just in time for people coming over for Christmas.
Yeah,
I would say there's no, if you genuinely, and this is not like a sales thing, but this is actually good and it's the perfect time of year to use it. So we've got
brilliant.
it out just in the nick of time. We could have left it later into the end of the year, but we believe that this is something that people will actually genuinely use for the next few weeks. So we've managed to be able to squeeze it out a bit quicker. Hopefully, if you guys do want to pick it up, don't hesitate. And I don't know how and again, it's a Craig Petty thing, so stocks generally tend to wipe out pretty darn quick, at least when you do it with our products. So I don't know how long this will be on the shelves until the next, which I've got to figure out in my head, at least 2 months, I
Yeah,
think, like 2 to
minimum.
3 months. So if you
Yeah.
are interested in getting this, I would pick it up sooner rather than later. Um, for a multitude of reasons. But Craig, man, I'm so proud of you. You've done a stellar performance, stellar work, and Phil, as always.
He's a joy to work with. I mean, Phil Smith, Craig Petty, Lloyd Barnes, Murphy's Magic. It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I feel like we should have tried to fit in some movie quotes throughout this interview and movie titles. Maybe we
Oh,
did. Go back and rewatch it and find out, count how many we did.
yeah, we put some in there. Yeah, we did definitely go back and watch this again.
Definitely
Right.
did.
Yeah,
Definitely did.
100%. That was all planned. Um, Lloyd, dude, thank you so much for talking about this with me. I know you're passionate about it. I really appreciate it. Now it's out. Now we can start thinking about the gaff deck and actually start working. Did I say
Oh. Oh,
exciting
there's
stuff?
exciting stuff happening with that too.
It really is.
And we haven't even mentioned the Savant deck.
Wow. Big things afoot.
Yeah.
Craig
6
Petty
days.
from the Farms. Absolutely. Really? Holy shit. Jesus Christ. Okay, good stuff. Right, good to know. Moving on.
Everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in. This is Lloyd. This is the Lloyd Barnes takeover of Craig Petty's Magic TV. Like, we can't say any more about this. Craig, you're a genius. Thank you so much for always being the consummate professional to work with, being the most hardest working, best creator out there, deservedly so creator of the year, probably every year for the next 10 years. And I'm so proud you brought focus to us to work with you and Phil, because yeah, it's movie magic in the real world.
I like what you did there. Lloyd, thank you so much for everything. And guys, watch this space because the best is yet to come. But right now, the best is now available. So go and buy it from your favorite magic dealer. Support your favorite magic dealer. And I'll be back again very, very soon with another video. And if you haven't already done so, go check out Lloyd's new channel with Kaylee, because you're going to see exactly what he's been up to and why we haven't done a magic podcast for the last 6 months, because he's been building a house. Go and check it out. Lloyd, I'll see you again soon. Take care, my friend.
Bye, dude. Peace.